What's up, guys? This is Pastor Manley Miller from Celebration Church, our campus pastor at our Kenner campus, and the pastor of leadership development for Celebration Church. I was recently reading a book titled So Good They Can't Ignore You by an author named Cal Newport. And in this book, the author was talking about the importance of developing career capital. This is basically where you have enough resources from the experience and what you've done and the successes that you've had. And that when you have enough career capital, then you're equipped and you're prepared to go do something significant in this world. In the same way, I was thinking as a leader in ministry, there's certain ministry capital that you need to have. These are resources or experiences or successes that you have had, and they all come together to give you the equipping that you need in order to do something significant. And there's a few different areas that you got to work on, where you got to focus on to develop ministry capital. This is so people trust you, they'll follow you, they'll walk with you, they believe in you, they trust you, and trust is the foundation of all leadership. So as a ministry leader, you need to be somebody that's developed trust with people. And so how do you go about developing this capital? What areas do you need to work on in order to be successful in ministry? And I want to give you 10 of them today. The first is public speaking. You need to be able to speak well if you're going to cast vision, if you're going to teach people, if you're going to pour into them, if you're going to do anything significant in somebody else's life, if you're going to challenge them in any way, then you need to become a better public speaker. Now, there's all kinds of ways that you can do this, but there's no shortcuts. The best way to become better at speaking is through experience. Now, I recently was reading a quote from Jerry Seinfeld, who was talking about how the fear of public speaking is greater than the fear of dying. And what he was joking about is that most people at a funeral would rather be the person in the box than the person giving the eulogy. Because the reality is so many people are afraid to step up and speak. And let me give you two important things that you can do. One is to get experience by speaking more. I want to encourage you to take up every speaking opportunity you possibly can. It might be leading a Bible study at a nursing home. It might be serving in the children's ministry and speaking to children, or Club 56, or the youth ministry. It might be leading a Bible study at a business somewhere. It might be taking the chance to teach a class at church. There are all kinds of opportunities for you to step up and have the chance to speak. And if you prepare for every speaking opportunity as though it was 1,000 people, then you'll always come ready to deliver the goods. I know in my own life, I've made sure that whenever a speaking opportunity came up, I took it to take advantage of it. Here's a second way you can build your public speaking capital is by getting involved in something like Toastmasters. Our Metairie campus has a Toastmasters that meets, which is basically a group of people that come together to speak and to encourage one another, to evaluate one another, to challenge each other, to kind of focus on different areas where you might grow. And I want to encourage you to get involved in something like that so you can become better at public speaking. You got to be good at public speaking. You got to have some capital in this area if you want to be successful. Here's a second thing: financial management. In order to be good at anything in ministry, you got to know how to manage money. God talks about this all the time. It's important to be a good steward of the resources that God has given you. Now, this can just start as something as your personal life. I want to encourage you to go study something like Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, or just get in the book Total Money Makeover that he wrote. You can go on Right Now Media and look up resources that are available to you for free in order to become better at managing finances. But whenever you're going to do something in ministry, God's going to give you resources. You better manage those resources well. And that comes with the mindset of knowing how to do that, being a good steward of what God has made available. We believe that God blesses the people that are good managers and good stewards of the resources that God has given them. Here's a third area: counseling. You need some career capital in the counseling area. You need to know how to give counsel and wise advice to people in their lives. You know, in ministry, people will come to you for guidance, direction, and wisdom. They need counsel from you. The Bible talks over and over again about the importance of getting good counsel and about giving good counsel. And you got to work to become a good counselor. This might be from reading counseling books or getting some experience in this area, setting yourself up in a position where you try to work with somebody. It might be meeting with some pastors or some ministry leaders saying, okay, when a couple comes to you advice, what do you tell them? When a teenager comes to you for advice, what do you tell them? You need to get some career capital, some ministry capital in the area of counseling so that you can become good at it, because it doesn't matter how successful you become, you'll always have to do some counseling. Here's a fourth area: crisis management. In ministry, you're going to have to deal with people's crises. death, finding out people have terminal illnesses, marriages that are falling apart, a person confessing adultery, a person revealing an addiction that they have, somebody going through some kind of crisis. You got to become equipped. You got to know how to deal with a crisis, because if you get in ministry, sooner or later, somebody's going to come to you with a crisis. Think about Jesus. How many times did a person come and say, oh, my child is sick and dying. I need you to come and minister to them. Or I've got this situation I'm dealing with. Or there's this demonized man that's tormenting our area. People were always bringing crises to Jesus. And in the same way, when you represent Jesus and you start doing ministry, you got to learn how to deal with people's crises. You got to become equipped, and this takes work. It's just effort. And you say, okay, I'm going to learn how to become good at helping a person that's going through a crisis. Here's another thing you got to be good at: organizational leadership. If you're going to be successful in ministry, you got to remember that there's no ministers. As Rick Warren coined the phrase, there's only administrators. People who are organizational leaders, plotting and planning and thinking, how can we get this done? How can we do it more efficiently? How can we do it better? I mean, think about Jesus. Before he turned the fish and the loaves and multiplied them, he told everybody, before I do this, I need everybody to sit down in groups of 50. What was he doing? He was organizing and leading in a way to be effective. In order for you to become a better leader, it just starts with you hungering to be a better leader. Things like our leadership forum that we offer, videos like this, anything you can get your hands on to learn what it means to be a better leader, these are the things that are valuable. And as you become a better leader, as you work on your leadership, as you focus on this and you train and you develop, it becomes capital. It becomes resources. It becomes experience. People trust your leadership because they've seen how you lead in times when leadership is necessary. And you got to be organized to do that. You got to be focused. You got to be disciplined. You can't be a disciple maker. You can't make disciples if you yourself don't have any discipline. And organizational leadership is one of the areas where that is so important. Here's another area: personal management. You know, one of the qualifications to be an elder is that you have to be able to lead your own household well. And before you can lead your own household well, you better know how to lead yourself well. I hope that you've learned how to manage yourself, how to organize yourself. I hope that you're disciplined when it comes to your physical body. I hope that you're disciplined in your spiritual life, how much time you spend reading the Word and praying and seeking the face of God and worshiping Him. I hope that you're disciplined in your own finances. I hope that you're disciplined in all the different areas. I hope you're disciplined at work, what you're doing to bring in money. You have to be somebody that manages yourself. You know, ministry is not the kind of job where somebody shows up with a list and tells you what you need to do. You need to be able to make your own list. You need to be able to think forward and say, okay, what do I need to do to help the people in my life? What do I need to do to minister to them? What do I need to do to challenge them? What do I need to do to grow them and to pour into them? You got to be able to manage yourself well so that you can be effective. And you got to work on that sometimes. Some people are very organized and disciplined naturally. Others have to work on it. No matter what it is, you got to put the effort into it to take it up to another level, to take it up to another notch, and to have the resources and experiences that you need in order to be successful in ministry. Here's another area: writing. You need to become a better writer if you want to be effective in ministry. You know, I don't know if you realize this or not, but writing is nothing more than communication. It's nothing more than sharing with somebody what they need to hear. It might be something as simple as writing out your testimony. It might be something as simple as writing an email, inviting somebody to an event or a ministry opportunity. It might be something as simple as texting somebody. That's writing. And in order to be an effective communicator, you have to be a good writer. And you can't just say, well, I'm not a good writer. I'm just not going to work on that. I'm never going to be good at that. Even if you think you're not good at something, you got to invest the time and the energy to build the capital that you need, so when you write, you come across well. You make your point. You can influence somebody, because that's what ministry really is influencing and changing the way people think and the way people feel. And you've got to become a better writer in order to do that. Here's another area: promotion. If you want to be effective in ministry, you have to learn how to promote something. You know, Jesus was a phenomenal promoter. Whenever he showed up, there were large crowds that were around. It didn't hurt that he was performing miracles or healing people. Those things always draw a crowd, but the reality is there's lots of things that you can do in order to draw a crowd. And you got to draw a crowd so you have somebody to listen to you so that they can hear your message, what you're delivering, which is the good news that's going to change their life. You might even just be a life group leader. Just being a life group leader, you got to know how to promote what you're doing as a life group, to get people to come, to get people to show up. You need to learn to become better at this. You might want to work on this and develop some capital in this area. Here's another one. Event production, or throwing an event, or just throwing a party. You know, if you're going to have a life group at your house, or if you're going to have a children's ministry event, or if you're going to do something that's an outreach, you better know how to put the event on. You might say, you know what, we're going to go serve the homeless, we're going to go feed a bunch of homeless people, I'm going to get a group of 10 people together. Well, somebody's got to organize and gather and produce that event. Somebody's got to put all that together. And if you're the ministry leader, that's going to be a burden that falls on your shoulders. It might not seem like something that's ministry, but the reality is if you can't do this well, then you never have the opportunity to do ministry in somebody else's life. You have to be the kind of person who's built up enough capital that you know how to throw an event. It can be a Super Bowl party. It can be a baptism event. All of these things are things that you got to be equipped, resource, and experienced at putting together if you want to be successful in ministry. And then here's the last one. This is the 10th item that I'm sharing with you. These 10 things are areas that you can work on to develop, to build as ministry capital so that people want to follow you. The last one is fundraising. You know, the truth is it takes money to do ministry. It takes resources to do ministry. Somebody's got to pay the bill. Now, we know when God guides, he provides. And provision means for the vision. And when God's for it, he takes care of it. But you still have to put the legwork in. You still have to put the effort in order to raise the money to do the type of ministry that you feel like God is calling you to do. Fundraising is a skill. It's something you can get better at. It's something that you can work on. But you have to be willing to put your energy and effort into. Now, these 10 things are all different areas. Some you're probably really good at. Some, they might be foreign to you. But whatever it is, you find the ones that you're weakest in, you work on those. You know your strengths will always be what you're really good at, but you want to make sure your weaknesses don't hinder you and hold you back. And if you just use these 10 things as a checklist and you just work on them to improve your game, to improve your ministry, to improve what you're bringing to the table, to advance and expand the resources you have, this is what makes you a phenomenal leader in God's kingdom. If you're going to be in God's kingdom, you might as well be making a difference in people's lives. Let's step up the game. Let's take things to another level. I believe God is going to do something powerful in and through you as you take your ministry calling seriously and you work on these 10 areas. God bless you.